Augmentative and Alternative Communication. My name is Maddie Green. I'm one of the speech therapists here.
My name is Kate Zuba. I am also one of the speech therapists here.
I am Iqbal Castelli. I'm a speech therapist at Camelot.
All right. So you can see, like I said, we're presenting on AAC with students with complex communication needs. And we'll explain what that means in just 1 second. All right, so what is AAC? You guys probably know most of what that is as it relates to your child, but just a broad definition. It's just all of the ways that we share our ideas, our thoughts, and our feelings without speaking. So we all use AAC every single day just by using facial expressions or thumbs up, thumbs down, high five. Those are all signs of communication. Yeah, texting, typing, writing, emails. So we use it all the time and we don't even know it. Our students here at Camelot, what we're going to be talking about mostly today, use a combination of vocalizations. So that's just using speech without creating words. Sorry, that was my turn. Okay. Using signs. What we're referring to in this is the simple signs that we use a lot with our students. So more, help, all done. Use a combination of all these things. We use writing, pointing to pictures, speech generating devices, which is what a lot of our students use. So who uses AAC? Individuals with complex communication needs use AAC, and those are people that have severe speech or language delays or cognitive impairments who cannot meet their wants and needs through speech. These include individuals with developmental disabilities, so autism, cerebral palsy, Down syndrome, things like that. And then individuals who have acquired cognitive disorders, so strokes, traumatic brain injuries, and also those that have things like ALS, they also might use AAC, but today we're just going to be focusing on this part. So why do we use AAC? So a lot of different great researchers have found that children that have those complex communication needs, that language acquisition, so learning language and using language, can be achieved through access to these alternative means. This involves the use of multiple modalities, so all of our students don't just use one type of communication. They use a broad range of them because just if you might leave your device at home or if you lose your low-tech system that you use all the time, our students are really creative and we like to provide them with different modalities so they can always be communicating.
They use pointing, they grab you, they touch and pull you, they know how to gesture. They are so smart when it comes to using other means.
So the primary goal of AAC is to facilitate communication and participation in everyday activities. So when our students are having trouble communicating, they might be limited in how they can participate within the classroom and at home. So if you're reading a book or something, it's nice to have the symbols that are within that book so our students can comment on what's going on or tell you, all done, I'm done reading that book, I don't like it. So having these alternative means really allows them to just be a part of what everybody else does every single day. So it allows them to communicate their basic wants and needs, so they go to the bathroom, what they want to eat. Also allows them to communicate their feelings, which is really important. You know, we can see how they're feeling sometimes, but if they're really, really mad, it's powerful to just be able to say, I'm mad. And then from that level, I'm mad because that's even more powerful. So it also allows them to participate in social interactions with friends and family and then anybody else in the community. So here we like to have students talk to each other with their devices, and that's really fun because you can see their faces light up when they're talking to someone else that has a device.
Yeah.
So it's just really great to broaden it to not just communicating your wants and needs, but also participating socially. So who are the communication partners that our students and your children are talking to? They're talking to you guys, their family, their friends here at school. They're talking to us, their school staff. Maybe if they have different caregivers or people that stay with them at home, and then anybody else that's in the community. All right, any questions right now? So how do children learn to use these different modalities? Just like other children, they learn how to communicate by watching. So children, when they're really, really young, before they start talking, they're observing everything that's going on around them. And then eventually they imitate their first word, which is great. But our students also need that same form to imitate what they're going to do on their devices. So they learn by us as their communication partners, and primarily us as their professionals, showing them how to use their devices. So in the AAC world, it's called modeling, and it's also called aided language stimulation. They like to use a lot of big words in speech language pathology.
Yes, they do.
So in order for children to learn what's going on in their devices and how to use it fluidly, they need a lot of modeling. I can't emphasize how much modeling they need. So they need the input before they can be expected to produce the same messages that we're showing them. So like I said, just like when kids are babies, they have that input all the time. And so think about our students, how much time they might need to learn a completely new and different device.
Not only that, but like us as people, we take years to learn how it is to talk. And as adults, it takes us a few times of hearing a word in context to feel comfortable and confident to use it and to gain understanding of what that means. And we have to do that all on our own. We don't do it explicitly, we do it implicitly. And for our students that have disorders, maybe they have language disorders, they don't understand how the words come together, or they have that receptive language disorder where they don't understand the meaning of words, or they have difficulties with language, it becomes that much harder for them to learn language. So they need even more modeling to understand a word and to be comfortable enough to use it. If that makes sense.
Okay. All right, so here's just a little bit more information on the aided language stimulation or modeling. A really long word. So it's a technique that's really supported by research. It's probably the most supported thing in AAC research, and we use it to teach language, but also increase their responsiveness. So some of our students might be really hesitant to pick up their device and use it, but after a really long time of showing them how it works, they're gonna feel more comfortable using it, like Kate said, and eventually use it independently. So learning AAC is sometimes linked to learning a second language. So think about right now, if we tried to learn French, some people might speak French, but that would be really hard as adults and children. So basic social communication is achieved in 2 to 3 years. Academic language takes 5 to 7 years. So just think about how long it would take for children with complex communication needs to become proficient with the communication system. So this is meaning without anything. But this modeling really provides a great way for our students to learn it quicker. So the more we're modeling, the faster they're going to learn it and be more confident in using it. So this is just a nice visual, a form of AAC for you guys. So this is showing on over here. This side, this is spoken language, so how it's coming in, and then the output is spoken language. So this is what we do. And then this might be if we're using spoken language instead of modeling on their devices, our children are going to be confused about that because they have these receptive language disorders or they are having trouble understanding that. So they're not going to improve on their use of their devices. So with the aided language and the spoken language, we're teaching them both. So they're having a way to interpret the spoken language with the aided language, and then we're modeling that for them, so they're going to be more likely to use it.
This is why so many of our kids are so smart. They understand so much about the world around them, but they're not able to express what they feel. And so we don't actually get a true understanding of what they know, because they can understand and follow directions, but when it comes to saying things and expressing how they feel or their thoughts or their opinions or their ideas, they're limited because we're not showing them how to use their system. But now we are.
So when you use this aided language stimulation, you're modeling the use of symbols to say real things in real situations. So we're not just showing them on their device one time the word more and then walking away and like, okay, now go use it everywhere. We're using it within the context, so we might use it while they're eating more pretzels or selecting it on their device. We might use it when you're in the car, if you have music on and then you turn it off, they might sound more music. Using it just really anywhere. So you're teaching them what to say when, and then you're also teaching them grammar, so those sentence structures on their device. And then we're teaching them how to use the device. So this is something I think we overlook a lot of times, is like how to turn the device on, how to work it if they're navigating between 4 different pages, how to, if it's not charging, how long to wait until it's ready to be used. So just all of those kind of technological things that we forget that go into devices, those are important. And then as they have communication breakdowns, we're teaching them it's okay to have mistakes, but also how to repair that. So that's what we're doing. I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Iqbal.
Thanks, Maddie. In this part, we are going to talk about how we model and prompt to teach language for these students, whether they're using a low-tech system or a device. So when we teach vocabulary, first we want to know how they can speak or what their level is, so we can increase their utterances and the word combinations. For example, if the child is speaking only 2-3 words, we want them to increase their utterances, maybe 3 to 4 words or 5 to 6 words. If they're currently using 2-word combinations on their device, if they're saying want ball, we want them to say 3 to 4 word combinations, want red ball, or kick ball up high. And we model vocabulary and sentence structure, not just vocabulary, but we also teach them how to correctly formulate their sentences. For example, if the child is saying boy run, we want to model the boy is running. So the correct way we want to model for them. We also want to model in a slow rate so that we are not going too fast, so they're picking up the pace and they're able to navigate easily through the pages, because using a device is not easy. And we teach them, we show them, we model them, and then we expect them to use it more proficiently. We also can pair with speech, especially to fill the gaps. For example, if we want them to learn how to navigate to pick their food, we can also talk about, oh, Mary wants to eat dinner. This is where we go. This is food button, and then we can choose the food item. Mary wants to eat mac and cheese, for example. So we can also talk about along the way, which is part of thinking also out loud. We're also modeling, but also teaching them how to use and navigate the device.
Thinking out loud is so important for our students because we do it naturally ourselves, but our students need that explicitly taught to them. To think everything sequencing is very difficult for our students. So saying it out loud for them so that they understand the processes that come so naturally to us is really beneficial for their sake.
We also want to talk about the core vocabulary. There are some handouts on the table which has the beginner level of the core board and the medium level and the high level core board. These are the words that actually reflects the intersections of the most frequently occurring words in a social communication. So in our daily communication, we use these words more frequently than any other words. And also, these words are the most important expressive vocabulary in the college and career readiness standards. So these are research-based words. These are selected and were put together to be able to use for those children who can communicate.
Because they're the most frequently used, that means they have the most different ways to use them. So you can use them in so many different ways.
Mm-hmm. Again, these are most frequently used words across settings, as well as these words are different to describe through pictures, unlike nouns. And primarily, they're made of pronouns and verbs, because nouns are so specific and we cannot put a lot of nouns into those devices or those words, but we can use pronouns. For example, instead of naming a lot of different animals, we can use the pronoun it, or instead of naming a lot of people's names, we can also use she or he or they. So it allows us to be more flexible and create more words, more phrases and sentences using these core vocabulary words. And again, very few nouns are included in our core vocabulary, and the location of these words are consistent, so they know where they are as we practice more and more.
Those nouns are still important. So when we do work on core vocabulary here at Camelot, we do fringe pages. So for every verb that we're teaching, we're also including a bunch of nouns. There's an example that we gave in a handout that has eat, and it has a whole bunch of snack foods or preferred foods that a lot of our students like, so that they can associate, okay, these are the nouns that go with eat. These are the foods that go with eat. It's talking about categorizing. It's talking about word association. So they're making that link in their head. Okay, when I'm thinking of food, I'm thinking of eat. So it's important.
So this is the beginner level. For some of our students, it's not easy to use the core words, so we want them to be familiar with this first, so we may start something like this. If the student is capable of using more words, then we may introduce this. This is kind of a medium level. And then also we have a high level, which has a lot of more vocabulary on it. So if you look at this, this allows us to make a lot of sentences that could actually have a lot of different meanings. For example,
I want help. Help.
Yeah.
Please.
Want more, I like that. For example, I go out, I go in. We can create lots of different phrases, and again, those are more flexible. That would allow us to express our meanings in different ways.
I think I'm gonna jump in here. I think too, it helps. A lot of times we restrict our students in requesting. So just asking for, I want more food, or I want a drink, or I want this, that, or the other. And it's important for our students to also be able to comment and direct different activities that are going on. So we just broaden the different functions that they can use. So I think that's another.
Functional and flexible, definitely. So this is a screenshot of a device and app that some of our students may be using. Again, it allows us to make a lot of phrases, such as what make, who make, maybe make more. So the words may seem to be limited, but the expressions are actually a lot. It's more flexible. And it creates us, it gives us a lot of opportunity to express our needs and wants, and also make comments on certain things.
It also is important for the communication partner, who's usually the one modeling or prompting. It's usually teachers and the people here at Camelot, the staff, who are using what they're able to do and building on it, expanding on what they're already saying and making sure that they understand, like Ms. Iqbal said, how to use proper grammar. So if they're just saying, more here. Oh, you want more here. Okay, so that they understand that they're supposed to be using them. And then we can go ahead and say, you want more here. Okay, so that they see that they're actually building on it. Does that make sense?
So when we teach a new word, we combine the new words with the words that are already taught. So for example, if we are teaching them the word drink or eat, we can use nouns. I want to drink what? Orange juice. Maybe we can increase the utterances by first modeling them and then asking them what they want to have. I want to drink orange juice. What do you want to drink? I want to drink apple juice. So we can increase the again utterances. First we model them, then we ask them what we want them to come up with. For example, if you're teaching go, you might need to model, we go to a store, we go to a restaurant, we go to this place, so we can use in different contexts. School, exactly. And then we ask them to create their own sentences. That's what we expect them to do. For example, another example would be teaching on. So phrases using new words and known words. For example, put clothes on, turn on the light, music on. So there's one word, but we can create a lot of different messages using the same word. And also, we want to make sure that the activity is engaging and interesting. We can bring in toys, we can bring in real objects, and we can books definitely too. So we can use these words in different contexts and in different forms.
And one of the big things that we do with our core vocabulary curriculum here is with every word that we introduce, we provide a page that comes home that says, here are some activities that use this word. Here's some books. If we're working on go, here's Go Dog Go, you know, some basic books that we can, sensory activities, some breaks that you can do, some play that you can do with your student at home. All of these ideas we create each time we come up with a word to make sure that you guys have opportunities. You don't have to think about the opportunities to create at home. We'll think of that for you, and then you can see and kind of keep going with it.
Again, the purpose of modeling is to teach them receptive vocabulary and also teach them different new words and also use these words in different contexts, in a different variety of different contexts. So another way of practice, again, we use fringe pages, we make sentence strips for those students, make it open. If our target word is make, we can use it in a different way of showing the message. The next part is going to talk about prompting. Prompting is something that is added to the environment so that we can bring out a correct response. Eventually, we want to fade the prompts because we want them to be more independent along the way, but there are different levels of prompting. The top one is the least controlling prompting, and the bottom one is the most controlling prompting. So a natural cue or independence. For example, if we want our student to learn how to clean up after herself after lunch, a natural cue might be, oh, lunch is all done, and we expect the student to clean up the lunch on her own. That would be a kind of natural cue, saying lunch is all done. And then if the student is unable to do that, we can verbal prompt, okay, clean up the table. That would be a kind of verbal prompt. Or we can even use between prompts, like we can use body language, like, oh, what's next? What do we do next? And then if the child still doesn't do it, then we can model them what we want them to do. We can show them how we do it.
Would you be able to go back and go through the prompting list? It might be kind of hard for them to read.
Sure.
The hierarchy, for the hierarchy.
Right, the prompting hierarchy.
That could be 3 levels, that could be more than 3 levels, that could be a lot of levels, but the one we want them to have is the natural cue, that's independence. We want to decrease the level of prompts so their independence is increased. But again, this is a natural cue, just like, oh, lunch is all done, and then visual prompt might be maybe just showing the gestural prompt or visual prompt showing where the garbage is, and then a verbal prompt, clean up the table. Modeling would be doing it, showing them how to do it, how we want them to do it. And partial physical prompt would be maybe touching the elbow or tapping on the shoulder. exactly,
verbiage.
not physically exactly doing what we want them to do, but kind of giving them a tactile prompt so they can do the act that we want them to do. And the last one is the full physical prompt, which is hand over hand. We physically do go over with them to do what we want them to do, to teach the skill.
So when we're first having a student do something, we always want to start least and then go to most. Once you know that a student is at a certain place, we actually want to go from where they're at. So if they are at hand over hand, we're going to start them there, but then we're going to want to go back to the most to least to try and fade that so that they can be as independent as possible. Does that make sense? Does anybody have any questions about that?
So the most naturalistic way would be least to most, but some students need more help, more prompting, so we may go the other way. But again, we want to gradually decrease the amount of prompts so they can be more independent.
And it's very important, if you go to the next slide, to make sure we're getting wait time, because a lot of our students do have that processing time and they need more time to process. And that's something that we as educators we can't do enough of. You just need to have that. We say to each other all the time, count to 10, count to 15, depending on the student, you just have to back up and stop and wait.
Give them time to process the information.
Exactly.
Again, encourage independence. We start with maybe a list and then go to the most controlling one, but again, gradually we want to decrease the prompting. In summary, we must teach and model, just like Ms. Nettie State said, it's like learning a second language. Babies learn through listening. First, we receptively improve their language, and then we expect them to speak. Just like when they turn 1, we expect them to start using words, then combining words. Same idea. Think about how much time they spend on these devices. If they're just spending little time, it's going to be taking more time to learn to be more proficient. So we have to teach and model, and it takes time. Vocabulary instruction should be interactive, engaging, and rich in context. Again, it should be fun for them to use these devices. It should be functional for them to use these devices. Again, use vocabulary in multiple activities and in many different ways. And lastly, combine new words with the words that they already know. So they have the context information about what we are teaching them. So that would help us, that will help them to use these words in a meaningful way.
Yeah, you're building on the vocabulary that they already have. So it's creating a stepping stone.
Again, input, so receptive language before expressive language. So we want them to comprehend first before they start using these words or using these symbols and pictures and text. Model, model, model. We have to teach them, just like we teach little kids, how to read, how to write, how to speak. And we have to be patient. Learning something new takes time.
And it's hard for you guys because you have to really become teachers. You have to learn how to become a special ed teacher, basically, because your child is not learning implicitly. They're not just naturally understanding. They need that explicit, very, detailed instruction of how to do things. So you eventually learn them, get to know exactly how they learn.
And we need to be consistent as well. If we're using it here, they can be also using those devices for communication boards at home or in the community, so it's more functional for them to use, and they're becoming more proficient. If they had a different way of communicating at home or in the community, it would be difficult for them to become more proficient. So it takes time, takes modeling, and also consistency. Any questions for us?
Okay, so now we're gonna switch it over to the backing up and the vocabulary, how to back up. So we're gonna first start out with touch chat. We're gonna start out with backing it up using touch chat. So the only person here right now that knows touch chat is this family right here, but don't worry, we also have people that might be watching online that have touch chat. We have other families that might be watching that use Proloquo to go. And so far as I know, we don't have other families that use LAMP, but it's still very similar to touch chat, so it is still very close to yours. So you might want to watch this. This is a quick 8-minute video that we're going to watch about touch chat, how to back it up using iShare. iShare is a free account for the first year. After that, you pay, but you can always just use a new email account, and then that way you have it on your computer, and then you can upload, so you still get it. And then if you can get, yeah, close right.
Another option for backing up custom files to a computer is using iShare and Chat Editor. The TouchChat website offers a free download of Chat Editor, a program that offers a way to back up the custom files and, if needed, edit those from a computer. You must have a wireless connection and you will need iShare.
This is how I
Besides allowing the convenience of using a
break.
Windows computer with a
Using
full
the
keyboard,
software you
this
download.
program offers the ability to move page sets that you have created in TouchChat to a NovaChat device. The menu layout looks more Windows-like than what is used on TouchChat, but most of the capability that is included in TouchChat is available on the Chat Editor. For more information on downloading and installing Chat Editor, please see the video tutorial, Downloading and Installing Chat Editor.
This video is from TouchChat's website too. You can just look it up.
Now let's take a quick look at iShare. A 1-year free trial of iShare is currently available. To get the free trial, on TouchChat, choose the vocab button,
On the
choose
chat.
new vocab, select menu, and iShare service. If you've never had an existing iShare account, choose register for iShare and
I wrote
then
it all
enter
out
the
for you.
required information. The iShare 1-year trial will be set and ready to go.
Grab another one.
Once you have created your iShare account, choose Log into iShare. Enter your email address and your password that you set up your iShare account with.
And it allows you to create one right there. So you can actually just create
And
one
choose Login.
and then log in.
If you scroll to the bottom, you will see how many days you have left in your subscription before it expires.
Maddie, do you mind pausing
From
it
here,
for
you'll
1
want
second?
to put your
This is the same for LAMP as well. So when you create an iShare account, and it's going to have My Files, and then it's going to have Public Files right at the top. And it's important that you put them in My Files, because when you put them in Public Files, any person that has an iShare account can view that file and can access that child's file. So if it's for your student, you probably just want to keep it private and keep it in your files. And it's also easier then for you to find when you go on the website later. Just a little bit of advice.
your backup into My Files. My Files is a private folder that only you can access with your iShare login. If you put something in the public files, that will share it out for anyone else who has an iShare account as well. So since we're making a backup, we're just going to put this into My Files. Then we're going to choose the plus sign in the top right-hand corner. And we're going to select our file that we've been working on. You have an opportunity to change the name if you would like, or you can leave it the same. You can give your file a description, some keywords to enter so that if you ever need to search for it in iShare, you can find it. Also a file revision. And then we're putting it into My Files, and then from there you can choose a category. Categories range from birth to preschool
Does that
to
help?
miscellaneous. If you look in one of the school categories, such as early elementary, it then breaks down into subcategories as well. So you can get as specific or as general if you want. I'm going to hit back, and I'm just going to put this into miscellaneous for today. And then I'm going to tap on upload. Once your file is uploaded, it will say upload complete. Go ahead and tap on OK, and done. Now that you have uploaded your file from your device to iShare, you can open it on your computer as well and transfer it to Chat Editor if you would like to. Go to iShareServices.com. Log in with the same email address and password that you used on your device, and click Submit. the top here under type, choose private and update. And then pick the category that you stored your file in. In this case, I chose miscellaneous. And here's my WordPower42 Jessie file that I just uploaded. You can choose to leave it in iShare as a backup, or if you would like to transfer it to Chat Editor to do some editing, you can do that as well. Just click on the green arrow next to it that says Download File. Choose Save File and OK. Then you're going to save it right into your Chat Editor import folder. And click Save. Then we're going to open Chat Editor in the Touch Chat configuration. And you see the import begin. Then you can just go to Library, My Resources, find your file, and open it. Now you can edit it in Chat Editor. Once you have finished editing your vocabulary, you can export the file from Chat Editor through iShare back to your device again. To do that, go to Library, Transfer, Vocabs to File, choose your file, and click on Transfer. Save the file to your desktop. Then you'll go back to www.ishareservices.com, log back into your iShare account, click on Add a File in the top right-hand corner. Add your file name. Revision number. Description. Keywords so that you can search for it. Select a category. Again, I'm just going to put mine into miscellaneous. Choose your type. I'm just going to put it into private so that only I can see it. I'm going to browse for the file. And then choose the file that you just saved to your desktop. Click on Open and click Submit. Once that file has saved, go back to your device. Once back on your device, go to the vocabulary listing and choose Menu, iShare Service, My Files. Choose the category which you saved your file in. And I have two WordPower42 Jessies because I named them the same thing. So I just need to take a look at them to see which one has the file version number 2. This one is file version number 2. So I'm just going to click on Download. Okay. And you can exit out of iShare. And your file will be in your vocabulary listing with the version number that you just added.
Okay, so that was a very quick review over how to back up and transfer files, and also how to get an iShare service, and how to use the chat editor software that you can download from the Touch Chat app website. So we will include the web link where you can go and see that video again. Touch Chat's website has lots of tutorials. So if you ever have any questions, you can always contact any of us about it, but you can also look on their website first and see, and if that doesn't answer your question, by all means, please ask us. If you just want to go over all of that with one of us, we would be happy to do that with you. So please do not hesitate to do that, because we'll take the time to show you, because sometimes it can be confusing to watch the videos. So just going over it again, you're going to make sure your device is connected to the internet. You're going to open up Touch Chat. You're going to press vocab and choose new vocab. Then go to the menu. Then hit iShare. You can register right there. And then you'll log in afterwards. You'll click My Files. So this is kind of just the same exact thing, what you'll do. Friendly tip that they didn't include on there is that it always helps to either do a date or save it with a number, so you know which order you're in, so you're not saving the file as the same thing every time, and it kind of tells you where you're at with your vocabulary. Okay, so now moving into Prolo Quo to Go. I don't have a video on this, but for our families that do use Prolo Quo to Go, I'm going to step over here. We're going to make sure the device is always connected to the internet, because anytime you're doing backups, you're going to want to make sure that it's connected to the internet. Also, we're going to use Dropbox. You can also use iTunes for LAMP, Touch Chat, and Prolo Quo to Go. Our iTunes is not up to date, so we've been using the other ones, but it's good to know in case you use iTunes at home, you can always do it that way as well. So this is the way using Dropbox. You can get a free Dropbox account. You just open up the app. You make sure you have all the settings editing on. So you're going to go ahead and hit the icon that shows that options icon. You can type in the password that you have. Sometimes there are passwords to get in there for certain students. And then you're going to go ahead and you're going to go down into backup, and you're going to go ahead and say backup all users now. So sometimes in Prolo Quo to Go, we have multiple users. If you're a Spanish speaking, if your student is Spanish speaking, they sometimes have a Spanish user and an English user. So you want to back up all the users first, and then go back in again, and you're going to go back into Dropbox. And there's a little thing that says Dropbox integration. You want to make sure that's on. Once you have the internet connected, see it's saying no internet connection. So I'm going to go ahead and make sure my internet is connected. It's going to open up a web link or an app. If you have the app, the Dropbox app on your iPad, it's going to open up Dropbox.com or the app, and you're just going to go ahead and log in, or you can actually create your Dropbox account right then and there. It's free. It will ask you if you want to access it. So here at Camelot, for all of our students that keep their devices at school or their devices are owned by the school, we've been backing them up. So I use my account, the school account that we have. Then we go ahead and hit in the sign in. And then it's going to ask you, do you want access to your folders? Click allow. We're going to go ahead and hit allow. And then we're going to go back to the options to back it up. Hit the password. We're going to go back to the options, go back to backup, export your backups, and then you're going to go down, pick which backup you want. So it does it based on the date. So I'm going to go all the way to the bottom. This is the newest one, 2018-01-10. So I'm going to click that one, and then once you click the file, you can go ahead and click Export to Dropbox. Then what you're going to want to do after that, so now you've backed it up, you're going to want to go on either a computer, you can go on your web browser, on your iPad, and you're going to want to go to your Dropbox account and make sure that it's there. And then you can also download the file to your computer if you're doing it on a computer so that you have it in 2 places instead of just on the cloud. But it's always there. So that's using Dropbox for Prolo Quota Go. That's just how to do it, real quick. So the last one is LAMP. So once again, we're always going to make sure the device is connected to the internet. I do not have an actual device here with me. Actually, we might have a device here. Let me see. Yes, we do. Mom brought her device because she's so good. Good job, Mom. Okay, so with LAMP, it's very, very similar to Touch Chat. You're just going to open up the menu, or actually, no, I lied. Open up vocab, choose new vocab, then you're going to hit menu, type in your passwords again. We got lots of passwords back here. And then there's iShare PRC. You can also do just with Touch Chat and Prolo Quota Go. You can save using iTunes, but iShare PRC is just like iShare for Touch Chat and Prolo Quota Go. The only difference is that the iShare PRC is only a free 7-day trial, and then after that, you pay $59.99 a year. So for this, obviously, we're just going to back it up during that 7-day trial, and then once we need to back it up again, we can create a new account. Hopefully, we won't be backing it up a lot. LAMP, the way that it's designed, you don't need to back it up a lot unless you're adding a lot of vocabulary to it, but it's based on motoric planning and motor planning. So as often as you need to, you might need to create an account for it. So you're going to hit iShare PRC. That's what we're doing. And will allow you to create an account right then and there. So you can create one and then you can log in. I just created one today so that I can make this example. I'm going to go ahead and log in. I don't remember what my login was. After you log in, then it will go through the same thing. You're going to have the My Files and Public Files. You go ahead and choose My Files. You click the file on here that you want to save, and it's already on here right there. You click that, you upload it, and then you can go and check on iShareServices.com. Actually, for LAMP, it is iSharePRCServices.com. I apologize. I'll make that edited. iShareServices PRC. And then log in. Same. It's going to look very similar to the way that we do it for Touch Chat. The only thing is that I don't believe that they have like an editor where you can do it like you do on Touch Chat, where you can download and edit it on your computer. You just edit it on here, which we'll get into next. So next slide, we're going to talk about adding vocabulary. Okay, so with Touch Chat, the easiest way is to go into your settings, make sure that the editing is allowed. I do have an example. This is an iPad mini for one of our littles.
Do you want me to show you?
Sure. Yeah, that would work. Thanks, Manny. Okay, so when we're editing the device, we want to always make sure that the editing is turned on. For some of our students, we can't always keep the editing on because they're very smart and they know exactly how to edit their devices. So we have to lock their devices and then we turn their editing off and we lock it and put it in guided access. That's something for another day. So for today, we're going to make sure editing's on. We're going to open the app and hit menu. And then once we're in menu, we're going to hit edit page. And if there's an empty button on the screen that you want to add, then you're going to go ahead and click that button you want to edit or add and click edit this button. And then if you want to modify the entire page, you go ahead and hit menu and edit page. That'll allow you to change how many buttons are on the page. It'll allow you to change the color of the background. There's so many different things. You can kind of play around. It'll allow you to add a new page. So you can copy buttons onto there. You can, there's so much you can do with this. And if you ever have any questions, please don't hesitate to ask one of us. We know, and we'd be happy to help you with it. So if you want to have a button, open an entire new page. So say you want the button to be eat. And when you click eat, you want it to open all the foods, right? So we're going to have edit eat. So we're going to go ahead and click on eat, edit page, and then hit eat and hit edit button. We're going to scroll all the way down to the button actions. And it's just going to say speech message, which means it's going to read the word that you told it to read, eat. So we're going to click add. And then we're going to click navigate, which means that you're going to tell that button to navigate to a different place. It's not just going to stay there. So it's going to navigate, and you can either choose an existing page or you can click on the plus sign to create a new page. We're going to click an existing page if we're doing the example that I mentioned, and click the foods page. So it'll give you a list of all the pages. You just click which page you want it there. Or you can create a new page and make it completely different. Maybe you want to do movies and just the movies that your student likes. So you can always do it that way. Another cool thing about this is that if you have a frontward facing camera on your iPad, it's always awesome to allow the camera to have access to your app. You can do that in the settings of the app. So you go into settings, go all the way down, go to touch chat, you can see all the settings for the app itself, and make sure that the camera's on, because you can always take pictures of staff, you can take pictures of people that they know, you can take pictures of their places they're familiar with, their favorite places, their favorite people, favorite foods, and then you can import those photos from their photo gallery into the app. So when you go to edit a button and you add a button, you can actually import pictures, which is so much better than just using the clip art that's included. You can search and pick any picture you want, and I highly encourage that you make them a part of the process of picking which picture they want to represent their words. So maybe it wouldn't be the same picture that you would choose for them, but you want them to be a part of it, because then they take ownership of it, and then they really enjoy it, and it becomes theirs. So that's always fun to do. So last one, you can copy a button. You're going to go ahead and click the button that you want to copy. You're going to click it, and then hit copy button and style. It'll actually copy the exact button that you have. So if you want to edit the button, you can make it a different color. If you're, we here at Camelot, we like to make all of our actions green, all of our descriptors pink. We make all of our pronouns and people yellow. We make all of our prepositions blue, light blue. So we have a system. All of our important words like please, thank you, yes, no are orange. So we make that system. Sometimes the system already comes with certain colors. Prolo Quo to Go, it has certain colors that it uses. So that's just one. I think I went through all of it for touch chat, for adding. Again, if you have any questions about touch chat, you can feel free to ask us. But let's go on to Prolo Quo to Go. So with Prolo Quo to Go, it's a little bit more complicated than touch chat, but it has a lot more. This is the lamp one. I'll wait to give that back to you. With Prolo Quo to Go, it has a little bit more options to it, which is a good and bad thing. It's a little bit, takes more time to learn, but once you learn it, it's really cool, because some of the buttons have little earmarks or little tabs on the corners. That means that you can press down and hold that button, and it will change the grammar for that word. For example, if we click and hold drink, it will pop up drink, drinks, drinks apostrophe S, drinks S apostrophe, and then you can actually preview the word. It'll also do that for pronouns and most nouns, actions, and it'll change based on the word. But for for what we want to do, again, we always want to make sure that the restrictions and edit mode is turned on, that editing is turned on. So there's a, at the bottom of the page, I'm going to show you guys this. There's a pen icon. It's next to the gear on the bottom right. So there's a gear, and then right next to it is a little pen. You're going to hit the pen, and that's going to bring up the editing mode. There's, you can click on any icon in the screen, and that's the button that you're going to edit. You can edit any part about the button. The great part about this is that there's really a lot of customization that you can do with Proloquo that might not be allowed on Touch Chat. The bad thing is that there's so much customization that it's a lot of learning, but it's great to have the option. So we can pick a word. For example, if there's a word that we don't want on there, we can just go ahead and click it and send it to the trash can, say delete permanently. If we want to add a word, there's a little plus sign that always shows up on the bottom in a dashed box. I'll try and show it to everyone who's online. There's a little plus sign and a little plus folder sign, and you can kind of add pages or add buttons that way. You can go ahead again with the camera. If you have a camera, you can add that on there. If you want to move a button, just like with Touch Chat, I didn't mention this with the last slide, but you can just go ahead, and once you're in that edit mode, you can go ahead and move it wherever you'd like on the page. So that's very nice if you want something in a different spot. And I already went over to delete a button. You just click it and then hit delete, the little trash can. So if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to ask. I hope I didn't go over that too fast. But you can go ahead and play with that if you'd like. The last one we're going to talk about is how to add vocabulary to LAMP. And thankfully, LAMP is very similar to Touch Chat, so it's very easy to do. I'm going to go ahead and go back and go to my vocabulary page that I want to go to. We're going to make sure that the allow editing is turned on. We're going to open it up, and it's going to say open LAMP, not Touch Chat, my bad. We're going to hit menu and edit page. And we're going to, LAMP is a little bit difficult because all the buttons are already there. So usually if there's a space that's not on there, it's because it's hidden. Because with LAMP, it's already, we're adding words to an already filled page. So we're not creating more pages or more buttons. We're adding to what's already there. So LAMP's a little bit different in that aspect. But once you have a page, for example, eat, then that's where there's basic buttons on there, and the second page is where you can add words and add that vocabulary that you want them to have access to. So the whole thing behind LAMP and the whole reason why it works so well with some students is for that motor planning of knowing where to hit each time for each word. So they actually learn to hit in a different sequence with their arms for each word. I hope that makes sense. So you're going to go to the page that you want to add the button. It's usually going to be the second page because, again, the main display already has all the buttons filled. You're going to go ahead and hit menu, put in the passcode if you have it. You're going to go to edit page. You're going to find all the blank spaces that are on there. Pick whichever one you want. You're going to want to pick one that's going to have a different motor planning than it's going to want to be in a far spot. So, for example, eat was on the prior page was in like down here in the middle. I'm going to want to pick the food that I want up here because it's really far and that movement is going to be more helpful for them to remember. I'm not going to want it to be in the same place every time because then they're going to get used to picking that one and then they're not going to remember to. So it's all about picking the motor planning. If you have questions about that, come and ask. I hope I can explain it a little bit better. But then you're going to go ahead and either create a new button or create an existing button. So I'm going to pick a new button, and you can go through the same steps as you would with all of the other devices. The other cool thing is that this device has a word finder. That's one of the important things because words are not in the places that you think they are. So hello is under please. It's a very interesting way of learning, but first you hit please and then you hit hello. So if there's a button that you don't know where it's at, like for example, it took me maybe 2 weeks to figure out where bathroom was. And then I learned you could just go to menu and go to word finder. And then once you find that, then you can go ahead and type the word that you're looking for. I know bathroom is on here. And what do you know? It shows you first you have to tap live and then you tap bathroom. It was under live and live wasn't even shown. So sometimes it takes some getting used to. If you have any questions, let me know. That will conclude the adding new vocabulary to LAMP. And does anybody have any questions about adding vocabulary or backing up?
Do all three of the programs or all the programs have the ability to add real photos to the front-facing camera?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, as long as you have a tablet that has that, yes, it does. You can either import a picture or pick a photo, like a clip art photo that's in there already.
And then when you say that, where you choose them for LAMP, especially where you place the word is important
Yes.
because of planning, is that because, for my son in particular, he'll just go through the motions and
Yeah.
point where he thinks wherever the last place was. Is that right planning? Okay.
Any other questions?
Is it possible to have, like, my daughter's stuff backed up on my computer too?
Yes.
Oh, I can.
Oh yeah, you can back it up anywhere. I have it backed up on 3 places. It's on your districts, on mine, and on my computer. So you can have it backed up at plenty of places.
Okay. 'Cause then I
And you can
just run
have
it.
not just one, you can have all of the files that we have for her backed up in all the places because the district has all of the backups for Camelot. So that's a really good question. So it's nice because then they have not just the one that she's currently using, but they have all of them, which is a really big plus. All right, so that will conclude. We'll have plenty of resources for those of you who are online. We will have all of the resources and the link to the touch chat video available afterwards. We'll send it all out to you with an email, right, Miss Heather? Yeah?
Yep.
Okay. Thank you for joining us if you're coming in from online. I'll have Miss Maddie and Miss Iqbal come up and we'll, yeah, say goodbye. Thanks so much, everyone, for coming. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.